It's such a somber day, and yet such a festive one. This is the 10th month, the seventh day. October 7th is a day that will always be remembered among God's people. This terrible, bloodthirsty, savage attack that was perpetrated on Israel by Muslims 2 years ago today. And yet, there is always hope. And Yahweh is providing that hope for his people by way of Sukah, a time that we live together and we return back to the conditions experienced during the Garden of Eden. And so today, the 7th day of October 2025, here in the Virgin Islands, it is 4:40 in the afternoon, which means that within about an hour and 20 minutes, the sun will have set and it will be Sukah. Now, I understand that Israel is 7 hours ahead of us, and you are well into the beginning of this celebration. I hope for your sake that you're not hanging out in tents or in booths, because that is not the intent. The only place that a tent is mentioned, commiserate with the Mikra, is in conjunction with Passover, and that is in the beginning of the year. Now, the entire message of Sukah is actually singular. And we know this because all we have to do is do what I have done for the last 24 years. I really am surprised that it is not done by anyone else. And that is, as I try to study and share Yahweh's words, as I convey God's message from the oldest references, typically the Dead Sea Scrolls, stripped of the Masoretic influence and their diacritical markings, I look at each word's verbal root. Most words have an actionable root, and the actionable root always defines the meaning of the word. And so there are two words that are associated with Sukah and what God is trying to achieve. The first, of course, is Sukah itself. And I shared this morning the verbal root of Sukah. It's Sukah. And Sukah means to protect, to cover, guard, to enclose. It is a term that shares the exact same definition with the verbal root of Gan, as in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. Ganan. That means to protect, to cover, and to shelter as well. So if you don't know, then let me point out what I thought should have been obvious, and yet no one seems to have perceived it previously. God's timeline runs over a 6+1 period. 6,000 years ago, we were escorted, humankind, Adam and Chawa, two of us anyway, were escorted out of the Gan Eden for ignoring Yahweh's advice and acting against his instructions. We've been out of the garden now for 6,000 years. But that story was told in great detail to us because it's Yahweh's idea of a perfect environment for a wonderful relationship with us. And so the story returns to where it began. We're returning to Gan Eden. And Yahweh is quite explicit. He is telling us that he's going to bring us back to the Garden of Great Joy. And this occurs, guess what? On Sukah. The entire earth is going to be scrubbed of all pollution, and the worst of pollution, politics and religion, militarism and conspiracy, and those who have upheld these great beasts and plagues. They will all be gone. And the entire earth will look just like the conditions experienced within Gan Eden. It cannot be better than that. And so that is the reason why these two verbal roots say exactly the same thing. that we are returning to the garden, and that Sukah, just like gone, conveys exactly the same message. So that is the purpose of this day. You see, Yahweh established a 7-step path to meet with him. This path begins with Passover, and it opens the door to life. And then there's the threshold of matzah, where our guilt is removed, taken into Sheol, never to be seen again, making us appear innocent, such that we can be completely free and open and comfortable before God, because we know all he sees in us is the best of us. And this leads to his adoption of us as his children, so that he can raise us, empower us, enrich us on Bikurim. Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, all fulfilled by God's beloved son, Dod, all in year 4000 Yah in 33 CE. It's the message of Genesis 1, when the greater luminary will be the sign of the Moed, these restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony, all on the fourth day, year 4000 Yah, 33 CE, 4,000 years after our expulsion from the garden. And then standing by itself is Shavuot. It's the next harvest, the next mikra to be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And it will
Leah's
be fulfilled.
favorite.
Yeah. And it will be.
I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
my favorite.
You love Shavuot, huh?
Yes,
That
I
is your
do.
favorite?
I love Shavuot.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? I want off this rock.
Oh,
I have seen the ways of men.
Mm-hmm,
I
okay.
wish not to see it again.
Okay. I understand. I don't blame you. Coming in from experiences on X and Facebook, and which you have to endure, and having read how God's people have turned on everyone who has ever served as a prophet or a witness to them, even on Yahweh himself, I can understand why that would be the favorite. This is a two-phase fulfillment, as so many of the Mikra have been. The Pesach, Matzah, Bikurim were provided with a dress rehearsal, if you will, a harbinger of things to come at the beginning of the Yatzah Exodus. Pesach, the children of Israel were getting an extension on life. On Matzah, they were released from the corruption of religion and politics. And then on Bikurim, they crossed the sea, being born now into Yahweh's family. And even on Shavuot, there is the hint, although it's never stated, it's sort of implied, that the first draft of the Torah, not draft in the sense that it would be improved, but the entire Torah was not handed down at one time. Yahweh provided the insights in history, the things that had happened during creation, during the Garden of Eden, during the flood, during his very long narrative regarding the formation of the covenant with Abraham and Sarah. And so all of that was given, and then the birth of the children of Israel, all of that was given to Moshe for him to write down very early on, along with the 10 statements that were engaged in stone. But from that point on, the children of Israel lived the Torah experience. Now, with all of that said, the Shavuot, as we approach it now, will be fulfilled based on what the prophets have said, that on this date, on Shavuot, 7 years before Yahweh's return in year 6000 Yah, which of course will be 2033, that the state of Israel will be thinned at the waist and given to terrorists who will make Israel exceedingly vulnerable, unsustainable, unsupportable. And that this occurs commensurate with Shavuot 7 years before the end of the time of troubles, which means that is the 22nd of May of next year of 2026. And then there will be the day that Leah is looking forward to, which is the Shavuot harvest, which is both of Goyim and Yehudim. Mm-hmm. It is a day that we will be taken off of this planet.
We become a
And
river of light.
Be a river of light going up to Shamaim.
We're
go
going home.
from 3 dimensions to 7. We finally shed the liabilities of these physical bodies, and our souls are embraced in energy and light. And we will spend a number of years with Yahweh in the 7th dimension. Now, when I say we will spend a number of years, a number of us are coming back. Well, we're all coming back at one time or another, but a number of us are coming back to be witnesses and to support the witnesses. We return on the 18th of April, which is Passover in 2030. As a matter of fact, it'll also include Elia and Yada and a support team that will journey back with us to accomplish this mission. It's interesting that on Shabuah, there are specifically 8 people that are listed that will be part of that support team. And we've gone over the nature of those individuals and the descriptions. Wouldn't you know, it's exactly the same support team that is part of Sukah. And we will cover that as we move forward. Exactly the same cast of characters. So
would you say that the first 3 Moed are an invitation via King Dode, and then he gets his first trickle in of guests on Shabuah? They go to the father's house. Then you get all these latecomers, and I'm going to have to say that it's the herald who now is the gatekeeper, and it is an invitation-only party.
Well, Shabuah is invitation only,
yes,
as is Teruah. Shabuah is not so much the latecomers. Teruah gleaning will be. And what we really don't know on Teruah, and I'm happy to view the numbers the same way, but Teruah is the next Moed Mikre to be fulfilled, and Teruah is part of Chag Sukah. We meet with Yahweh 3 times a year: Chag Matzah, Shabuah, and Chag Sukah. Teruah is part of Chag Sukah. And there is a gleaning on this day. And we know that gleaning is from striking an olive tree, which means it's of Yehudim. What we do not know for certain is whether the 2 or 3 from the uppermost branches and the 4 or 5 of the branches which have been cut away, that would be clearly of Yahudah, the uppermost branches, and the branches were cut away to be Israel. There is every bit of an indication that they are being protected by the Adamah Parah, this productive bull, who is also the choder at this time. And there's also the indication that these could be part of that gleaning. And so it could be both, could be some part of the gleaning. Those would be the late arrivals, and also part of the Adamah Parah transformation that will take place. And this is going to be the greatest show on earth. That we've gone over Teruah in our previous programs, but there is no day where more things transpire than on this one, and many of them supernatural. This brings us to on this path that we can walk to God, brings us to Yom Kippurim, which is the day of reconciliation. That's the great homecoming. And the whole purpose of the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah on Teruah is to prepare this, what God refers to really as an adulterous woman. It's Yisrael, not as a woman who has been involved in sexual impropriety. No, she is involved in religious impropriety. And she is the one who is being brought to Israel at this time as that final remnant to be cleansed. And we're going to hear about her just in a moment here, in fact, in a second. And it is during that 10 days that she is being prepared to meet Yahweh, because the last time that Israel met with Yahweh, it was a disaster, and we don't want that to happen again. Then the final step is we re-enter the garden as the earth is transformed on Sukah. That is the message of this day. That is the intent of this path that Yahweh has provided to him. So Yashaya, which was the prophet we were considering in the entire previous program, we're going to begin with him again. He is the most prolific and revealing of all of Yahweh's Nabi prophets. And he set the stage once again, a second time, for Sukah, this time not in the first chapter, but in the fourth chapter, explaining its timing and purpose. Then in that day, he's speaking of a day that is 8 years from now. 7 women, belligerent and stubborn, a bit harsh and overpowering, hard-pressed, unwilling to learn, seeking fortification and restoration, will demonstrate their resolve to prevail. So there are going to be 7 women, Jewish women. They're going to be Jewish in the sense that they're stubborn and they're harsh. They're a bit aggressive. But these will still be willing to learn. They're going to be pressed to a point that they're going to actually seek restoration. They're going to demonstrate a resolve to prevail. Yeah. It is chazak. It is a term that is used by Yahweh multiple times in reference to the previous Yatzah, Exodus, where Yahweh said that he brought them by a strong and firm hand, firm resolve into Jerusalem. So this is the last remnant of the children of Israel, and they are still a bit chazak.
Big surprise there. Not.
And they're going to be there with one man.
Oh, boy.
A single man. Who is going to reproach.
Poor you, 7 women.
And as that man approaches, they're going to say, shout, we will eat our bread. We will eat our bread. And we will wear our clothes. What in the world do you think they're talking about? Who are these women? Who is this man? I wouldn't have known until, quite recently.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah.
I'm the man.
Yeah.
The women represent this mortal remnant of Israel who still have lots of Israel in them, but they're open, finally, to grasping a outstretched hand and resolving their issue. And they're finally ready to be nourished, to eat the bread. There have been to the point that just as during the Exodus, when Yahweh told Moshe, I'm going to give your gang down there 3 days. Get your clothes all clean, I want you to look presentable, get your mind in the right spot. Then I'm going to come down and I'm going to talk to them. And, it was a disaster then. But now they're saying, we're ready to eat. We're ready to eat our bread. We're ready to wear our clothes. We're ready for all this. And they're expecting a lot of this fellow. And they should, because it's been, 24 years that we have worked up to the point where we understand who he is, because he gets more prophetic ink than almost anyone in God's story. And, he is in Yashaya. He is Yashaya 63. He's the man who comes from Edom. He's the man who appeared in 2 Samuel 6 as Obed Edom from the wine press. He's the same exact fella. And he is returned. He is here for this purpose. Nevertheless, let us be called by your name. Wow. Well, my name is Yada. My name is also Crag, which means this is the fiery crag where Yahweh's light once appeared to God's people. I am the Nakri, the observant foreigner that Yahweh encouraged his people to listen. I am the Parah, this productive bull that can heal God's people. I am Dod's Bashar. I am the lesser luminary that reflects the sun's brilliance. And my name is conveyed through all of the books that I have written that we will be sharing. It's Yada, Yahweh. Let us be called by your name. Let us be summoned. Let us be called out. Let us be designated by your reputation, by your designation, which, by the way, fills the prophets. As I've said, I don't know if I have found at this point 500 or 600, and we're as prolific as they are. It's probably well over.
Do you not get the double
1,000.
meaning here? To know Yahweh. They desired to know Yahweh. They're like, get out of my way. I want to know Yahweh.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Let us be called by your name.
Yeah.
With it upon us, so as to transfer and withdraw our approach and contempt. The whole purpose of the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah on this day is to do as Numbers 19 and Numbers 5 explain. It is to
reproach,
remove the reproach and contempt, our taunting insults and blasphemous slurs, our harmful statements and lowly status. You see, the entire remnant of Israel that is brought here at this moment, now 15 days before the celebration of Sukah, they have been brought from all over the world. They were brought here because they weren't so religious or so political or so obstinate that they couldn't be reached. They were, as Yahweh describes in Numbers 15, which is so essential to this moment, where he said that the bull can resolve the issues of omission, not commission. Only Dod's trip to Sheol is capable of resolving errors, mistakes of commission.
Nature.
And the difference really is, have you been misled or are you misleading? Are you a rabbi? Are you someone who has been influenced by the rabbis? And therefore, the reproach and contempt of these people can be resolved so that they can witness the return of Yahweh and enjoy the celebration of Sukah as everyone returns to Eden. That is what is being described here. Now, in this day, which is his day, living vegetation will sprout and thrive, branching out and growing, Shemach. Now, there are two insights already here. First of all, God has told us through the prophets that on Teruah, as he is eliminating all of those who have come against Israel, he is eliminating all traces of religion and politics. He is scrubbing the earth free of all of these things. For example, there'll be no more stars of David. They're all gone. There will be, because they aren't stars of David, they're stars of Bar Kokhba. There'll be no more crosses. There'll be no crescent moons. There'll be no military hardware left. None of that stuff.
So your goddamn Roman eagles.
There won't be a single church, a single cathedral, a single mosque, or a synagogue anywhere to be found. They're all gone. There won't be a single tank, a drone, a missile.
What a
none
lovely
of that
day
stuff,
that'll be.
Nor any one of the operators of those things or anyone that has come to harm Israel. There won't be a single anti-Semite left on the planet. And so God is bringing these people back into Israel. Now, what's interesting is also we are told, I believe it's also in Numbers 15, that, no, actually it's not. It's in Numbers 5, that God says that the men have been so bad that to some extent he has to give some slack to the women. That he can't judge the women this as harshly as he is going to judge the men, because the men were the perpetrators of Judaism. They're the founders of Christianity and of Islam. And he says the men are so bad that by comparison, I'm really not in a position where I'm going to be able to judge the women the same way. That's why it's women who are listed here, 7 of them. And it is these women who are going to be purged. And while they're being purged and while the earth is being cleansed and while all of the men who came against Israel and to harm Israel are being exterminated, God is transforming the earth back into the conditions of the garden. That is why living vegetation will sprout and thrive, branching out and growing. But Shemach means a lot more than growing. Shemach is Dod's title. He is the main branch off the tree of lives, and we're being lit back into the garden where the tree of lives is going to be prominent. But there is a lesser branch that is associated with Dod as the lesser luminary, and that's the branch off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's going to be right back in the middle of that garden, and it is going to be, in fact, it is right now, this wood right here. This is the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. It is the only way to be directed back to the tree of lives. And it will be in the garden too, because everyone who makes it into the Sukah celebration of the Gan is going to have a lot to learn. And they will be infants in this relationship. So in this day, which is his day, living vegetation in his day, it's Shemach's day, it's the branches day. This is all for Dod. The vegetation is going to be sprout and thrive, branching out and growing. The earth is going to be returned to the conditions of Eden for Yahweh. And it will be beautiful. It will be splendorous. It will be spread out in an attractive and desirable manner, covering the entire planet.
Whoop, whoop.
Then, after that, then he will approach as a glorious manifestation, along with the majestic and eminently wonderful, fruitful offspring of the land. This is Yahweh and Dod. They return following all of this transformative work that is being accomplished on Teruah to make Kippurim, the day of reconciliations, the great homecoming, the family reunion, all possible so that we are prepared now as a family to enter Sukah. But even more than that, the chuppah that is associated just tangentially with the Sukah and is described here in this prophecy. It is presented as a wedding tent, is it not? A wedding pavilion?
Yes, it is.
Ah.
The chuppah?
It's
a wedding tent.
Is there a wedding going on here?
There might be.
Numbers 5. Mm-hmm. Yes, you see, Elia is the priest, and as the master of ceremonies, is going to be orchestrating the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah that is...
I still have a bone to pick. 3 days to put a wedding together.
I know. Well, preparing, we actually you'll have all eternity, because you're going to be in a timeful place for a respite. All right, so it is this Numbers 5 woman who is going to be presented as the bride to Dod when he returns. You know, so many people have this conniption fit over Hoshea's divorce, having no clue as to what the basis of the divorce that Yahweh declares in Hoshea. And if they had read the damn thing, it's mostly Twistians and Messianics that get themselves twisted up on this. They said, God can't remarry that, so his divorce is not Torah. So he can't do that. Come on, think. First of all, you're promoting a religion when you're doing that. What is it why is it that Yahweh is divorcing himself of Yisrael? What did he ask Hoshea to do? Think your way through this. He asked Hoshea to marry a what?
A prostitute.
Yeah.
Religious
prostitute. And so that's the reason Israel is being divorced. So if you are religious, you are Christian, you're a Messianic, you are practicing Judaism, I don't care what religion it is, you're toast. You're done right there. It's the reason for the divorce. And then the second part is, what does he say in Hosea 4:6? Not only are my people destroyed for lack of knowing not faith for knowing, but he says, I will forget your children because you have forgotten my Torah.
Yeah, and my name.
And so if you are not Torah observant, you are not among those that Yahweh is going to accept as his children.
Let's face it,
But-
Yahud, you are Talmud observant.
Yes. So now let's get down to the chase. The wedding isn't Yahweh.
No.
He acknowledges that the children of Israel be his children again.
Daddy wants to marry off his son.
Daddy is marrying off his son.
That's right, kids.
That is exactly right. Because
Get on board.
his first wife, she was a bitch.
She really was. And
Yeah,
I would not remarry that woman. either.
Mika is
This is a whole new girl.
Mika represents some people that I know today, and she's headed to Sheol. So no, Dode needs a wife.
Yeah, he does.
King's got to have a queen.
That's right.
And so the numbers 15, the bride, 5, the bride in numbers 5.
I can't wait to dress her. This
She
gonna be
is,
lovely.
yeah. Leia's had a fashion company in her earlier life, and so
My youth.
the queen in her youth, yes, and the queen is going to be Yisrael, and she is being all prettied up by the sacrifice of the Adam of Pra. This is God's story. So she isn't. It isn't God that is remarrying her. It is God's beloved son, Dode, who is the returning king and the Messiah and our Savior and all of those kinds of wonderful things.
But these are all rabbinical arguments that bleed their way into messianics and Christianity.
Oh, it's also Christianity.
And let me
the number
just tell
of people.
you, the rabbis have got nothing right, including a date.
But
A
you know,
simple
you look
date.
at the stupidity of the Hebrew roots movement, where they essentially have married
Messianics.
all the wrongs of rabbinic Judaism with all the wrongs of Christianity, and have built a house of double wrongs. And
Got the frying
they
pan
are
into
also
the fire.
they're also into this stupidity of that God
Modest.
can't Torah-less. He can't do that. Therefore, there needs to be a new bride, and that's when they introduce their Yeshua, or whatever they want to call this mythical person, a new name for Jesus that makes them think
Amalgamation
that,
of the
that all
Jesus
things are
cult
good. No,
and rabbinicism.
Jesus is a myth, no matter what you call him. She's marrying Dode when Dode comes back. So the chuppah is in fact the wedding pavilion, and that's why it's mentioned here. It's not for a place for us to go outside. In fact, Sukah would be the ultimate shelter. Real roof, real walls, windows, all floors, all the kind of stuff to keep the elements from harming us. It's to protect us from the environment outside, not to expose us to the environment outside. Think of the Gan, the walls around Gan, and that protective covering of the mist was all to protect them, not to expose them. So then he will approach as a glorious manifestation, as a kabod. I love that name because one of these days, after we finish our presentation on Sukah, I promise to tell you the greatest one-liner in the history of one-liners. It isn't Elias. We have plenty of time to wait. Maybe your God's in the crapper, we'll give him time to get out.
In
or maybe
fact,
he's taking
Charles just finished a song about the loo.
Yeah, no, this one is a billion times. It's the greatest. It's the greatest comeback line ever, and it uses kabod in the.
Yeah, its punchline is kabod.
Yeah, the punchline is kabod. So we'll share that with you. A little teaser for a show coming forward.
Upcoming teaser.
Yes. And then the magnificent and eminently wonderful, fruitful offspring of the land. And of course, what's happening here is that the womb of the formerly religious woman is being opened back up. And it's interesting that the punchline for that story, the conclusion is the womb of the bitchy woman was closed. Is the last line of that narrative. But the woman will be fertile again. She will be fruitful again, and the greatest fruit of the land of Israel, far and away, unquestioned, is Dode, God's beloved son. So it says the remnant of survivors, those who have been delivered as refugees, who successfully escaped the conquest of Israel and of Yehudah, will also have an attractive and shining appearance. So there are, at this moment, there are a number of different kinds of people. And this is now the time between Teruah and the time that we enter Sukah. And those who have availed themselves and been invited to participate have not been excluded from, because there's going to be more exclusions from than invitations to the Shabuah harvest or the Teruah gleaning. They're going to be light. Their souls are wrapped in light and energy. This is one of those things that's so interesting, because I'm working on a prophecy now where I'm trying to explain how the man from Edom is the same person as Obed-Edom 3,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. That Obed-Edom from the wine press, which is the one doing the work of Edom, and the man from Edom who saves many in Yeshaya 63, it's the same fellow.
Been telling you that for months.
And not only is the same fellow, so you're dealing with the fact that most people are comfortable with the idea of a prophet or witness for Yahweh from long ago being brought forward in time as a prophet and reporting what they have seen in the past. But they're not comfortable with somebody that is born later, going back in the past and performing a role in the time prior.
How do you know that this is
no? So what everyone misses here is this. What I just did is irrelevant. As a matter of fact, what I just did doesn't actually exist. Nothing touched. When I just clapped my hands, nothing touched. Matters is essentially organized energy. And it's mostly not there. It's only the resistant forces of the in the atoms that make that sound and make it sound like there's something that's solid there. Nothing solid there. It's nothing but organized energy. And Yahweh is a being that is comprised, the best we can tell, the best he can tell us, something we can relate to, is energy and light. So if you are energy and light based, you're not stuck in the ordinary flow of time. When you have one of these, you are stuck in the ordinary flow of time. So it's really difficult for you to understand how a soul, a nefesh, a consciousness can be brought back in time or go forward in time. But when you understand that the conveyance of our soul, our nefesh, the thing that makes us human, the things that makes us who we are, that the conveyance of that is going to be spiritual energy and light. And as energy and light, God and we can maneuver in time. And so going back in time, going forward in time, all the same. So they happen just to be the same individual. Anyway, so we're reading this, and it says the remnant of survivors of Yisrael and Yehudah will have an attractive and shining appearance. So you'll have the children of the covenant who are going to be essentially light. We can transform any portion of the light energy we want to and assume physical bodies when it's handy to have one. You know, if you want to go down and blow bubbles with the fish, you swim in the ocean, you'll be able to do that. If you want to have a meal and sing a song, you're going to be able to do that. But if you want to explore the universe, then you got to shed your physical body and you can go do that. So you'll have that ability. You'll be a shining appearance. Now,
you got to understand basic physics to understand.
Yeah,
this.
Of course. But the next thing is that the second group of people representing Yisrael and Yehudah are going to be super mortals. They're still going to be mortal, but mortals with lives that are capable of going 1,000 years. And they will still have the capacity to accept the terms and conditions of the covenant and accept what Doe did on Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim and become energy-based, eternal children of Yahweh. But for right now, they're back reconciled, but their apparel is talking about, we're ready to wear our clothes. We're ready for all this. We're ready to make, thrive in your name. And that name being Yada, to know, to be familiar with. They are going to glow. They are. It's just going to have a glow
Twinkle,
to them.
twinkle, little stars.
It's not just going to be that their clothing is pretty. They're going to glow, and they're going to have this radiance to them. So our past in Eden will be the same as our future during this celebration of Sukah. The Yahweh's word remains consistent. God will be surrounded by those he perceives as beautiful, and part of his radiant energy will be shared. And when beauty is analyzed, the more symmetry, the more attractive someone is perceived to be. Balance is often essential to being fair, as is it is to be living and productive and participating in an enjoyable life. Now, in this light, splendor is a manifestation of order. Ugliness is a product of disorder. The former is the result of light's eternal nature, while the latter is a reflection of the loss of order through thermodynamics of aging in the material realm. Ugliness is brought to bear by the corruptive nature of being wrong. Beauty is a reflection of Yahweh's perfect light. Now, Shamak here, as I have shared, is used to describe the singular and important branch, and thus is symbolic of Dode David. But it's also symbolic of him representing the tree of lives. And it is Dode as this tree of lives needs to have the lesser luminary, his herald, serve as the tree of knowledge of good and evil, so that people are informed as to how to capitalize upon that tree of lives. Then it will come to pass that he who remains in Zion, with the remnant spared in Jerusalem, will be called set apart. For all who approach him will be written and inscribed in the book, in this book of lives, in Jerusalem, which is the source from which guidance and teaching regarding reconciliation flow. As we like to say, there's a lot to unpack here as well. All right, so it's going to occur in the future. This is 8 years from now, that there will be a remnant, a sharar, who is brought into Jerusalem. Some are going to be called into Jerusalem because of the witness of Elia and Yada over 3.5 years. And others will be brought via that white chariot from all around the world. And in Jerusalem, most are going to be gathered in and around Zion, which is that ridge line between where Dode's home was in the city of Dode, at the bottom of Mount Moriah, up to the top where the Temple Mount is, and where God's home for his name is going to, and home for his covenant family is going to be reestablished. The Sion represents the signs that explain the route between those two places, which is the path of the Moed Mikra, beginning with Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim, which Dode fulfilled, leading to these last three, Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukah at the top. So everyone who is part of this remnant in Zion, this group of Israelites who have been brought in from around the world and who were there to witness this event, and who have now been purged by the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah, this remnant in Jerusalem, which is the place of reconciliation, are going to finally be called set apart. You know what's interesting? I was listening to another numbskull rabbi talk about the Zohar, and he said the Zohar teaches about the oneness of us all. We're just all one, and
God, I hope not.
And just all together. And you say, God, you idiot! Yahweh uses Kodesh throughout to say, if you're going to be with him, you're going to be set apart. Rather than common, rather than unified with the world, you're going to be set apart from the world, set apart unto him, set apart from the world. And so all of these people will finally be uncommon.
I don't know. Rabbis are pretty common.
Oh, no. So they'll be uncommon. You know, Religion in
i.e. they
Israel,
won't be there.
religion in Israel and politics in Israel are common. Religion and politics
Very
around the world are common.
cliche.
Anti-Semitism today is common. If you're going to be with Yahweh, you have to be Kodesh, unique, different, uncommon, separated. And so everybody who remains are going to have one thing in common.
I pride myself on being different.
Yeah.
I hear I'm an acquired taste.
You are. You are indeed. So they're going to be called out and named, set apart, Kodesh. Finally. Because everything that is valuable to Yahweh is set apart. For all who approach him will be written and described in the book of lives. Now, it doesn't say the book of life, singular. It's Chayim.
Lives.
Che would be life,
plural.
and Chayim would be plural. Why? Because they're in a position to live two lives. There are three individuals that get three of them. And don't be jealous and say, oh, how can I get be one of those people that get three lives? Two is perfect.
Yeah.
Three, yeah, you got to be really committed to the cause to be one of the three.
Yeah, you don't want that job.
Three
Trust
lives,
me.
because one of the three lives is that you are sacrificed on behalf of the Moed Mikre.
The Bashar body is
sacrificed. So it's a bludgeoned body, a charred body, a beaten body. In Elias' case,
you are not your body, people.
So
you are not your khakis.
Yeah, right.
No.
So anyway, everybody else will get a second life. So it's the book of lives. And it is being written at that moment. This is when you get scribed in it. You do not get scribed into this book of lives
until that moment.
Until this moment, which is this celebration of Chag Sukah, which is Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukah. And Sukah is 8 days. So this is the first day of the 7th month, which is going to be the most jam-packed day in human history in terms of all the stuff that transpires.
It's going to be a lot to organize.
5 days later, 10 days later, we have the return of Dode and Yahweh and the wedding. And then
got to
5
clean
days
up the
after
bride.
that, and for 7 days plus 1 day, 8 days, we have the celebration of Sukah, and we have 1,000 years thereafter celebrating the 7th millennia with Yahweh. So they'll be written in the book of lives in Jerusalem, the source of guidance and teaching regarding reconciliation. You want to be in the book of lives? So many people say, I want to be in the book of lives. Well, you better be in Jerusalem. You're not in Jerusalem, you aren't being written in it. And the only way you're getting to Jerusalem is that you're already there and you survive the time of Israel's troubles, which ends on Teruah. Or you're brought in on that white chariot. Well, there'll be Goyim that'll be brought in on the dappled chariot, but that's the only way you can get there. And if you aren't one of those who benefits from the sacrifice and the Adam Parah, you're not written in the book of lives.
You get those other two chariots, and they have a different destination.
Well, actually,
really.
one of the two chariots, it's tough because that's the one for the man dressed in red, the Adam Parah, who is dressed in red and who is the bloody red bull. He's in the red chariot. He's destined to be sacrificed on this day. But it's just his body, no big deal. And the black chariot carries all those who are dressed in black. You see Muslims are always in black, and you see the
priests are in black, Haredi are in black,
Jews are always wearing black, and you've got all of the Roman Catholics in their black. All the people dressed in black are going in the black chariot. It's express ticket to Sheol, which is also hell. And then there's the white chariot that brings the Jews into Jerusalem, and the dappled chariot that will bring those Goyim who have the right attitude and aptitude into Jerusalem as well. So with the religious and political leadership all removed, including that in Israel, all rabbis gone, all politicians gone, all generals gone. Along with those who are dressed in support of them, those who remain in Jerusalem will be covenant members who are set apart unto Yahweh and this restored remnant of Yisrael. And they have been spared because they acknowledged the signs posted along the way. They availed themselves of the sacrifice of the Adam Parah. They were finally willing. Whereupon, meeting these conditions, the upright one of mine shall wash away the excrement and the filth of the daughters of Zion by association, purge and rinse away the blood of Jerusalem from her midst by way of the spirit of good judgment regarding the means to resolve disputes, and by way of the spirit that is blowing. All right, and blowing rage would be 4:4. So once again, as they say, a lot to unpack. So here we have it. When we reach the point of the celebration of Chag Sukah, which is 23 days, a day that is, I think the day is going to have to, the sun's going to have to set still. Actually, it's going to be a full solar eclipse on this day. But Teruah is so jam-packed. It's if you aren't paying attention, you're going to miss the greatest show on earth. And then you have Kippurim 10 days later, followed by the 7+1 days of Sukah. So the conditions that are going to be here, there's going to be an Edom, an upright one, somebody who is going to stand upright in
the standing
in the
place
midst of Israel to get all of this accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeshaya is using the term the upright one of mine. So this is a person that Yeshaya is taking credit for. After all,
he knows it intimately.
Yes, he wrote the book on Chodorim. And it is this upright one that is going to wash away. He's going to cleanse. He's going to immerse in water so as to remove all impurities, the excrement and filth, the feces, dung, foul organic material, vaginal discharge, and immoral decrees of the daughters of Zion. The daughters of Zion represent the adulterous woman of Numbers 5. The upright one here is who is washing all of this away. He is the Adama Parah of Numbers 19. This is the very solution that God said that he was providing in Numbers 15. There are many, many prophecies regarding this moment in time, but that's what it is. It's a purging. And Eliah is going to serve as the master of ceremonies for all of this. Yahweh is releasing waters from beneath the Temple Mount. He's igniting the fires. And between all of this, the filth, the excrement, the vaginal discharge of this woman is all going to be washed away, such that the daughters of Zion, because they are less guilty than are the men, by association will be purged and rinsed away. All of the death and the blood stains, the blood guilt and the consequence of killing, the residue of death of Jerusalem from her very midst, by way of the spirit of good judgment, the ruach of mishpat, of exercising good decisions, is going to be there to cleanse this audience. But there will also be a spirit of blowing rage. And that spirit is the one who will fan those flames out of Jerusalem, off the Temple Mount, to incinerate all of those who have come to harm Israel. This will be their last breath. So God is a proponent of righteous indignation, setting an example that we would be wise to follow. Hate, my friends, is a virtue when you know who, what, why, and how to direct your righteous indignation. You should hate religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. You should hate politics. You should despise the great betrayal that is being perpetrated right now by the great betrayer himself, the human manifestation of Satan in Washington, D.C., and all that is going to transpire around the world because of the deceit and lies that are being perpetrated not just on America, but on Israel and the world at large. You ought to hate rape and rapists, pedophiles and pedophilia, murderers, and those doctrines, those religions which inspire mass murder. It's the only way that you can actually protect the innocent. You cease to be loving when you don't know what and how to hate. Now, anytime there's a mention of Zion, we ought to see Dode's message on those signs. They are, after all, posted between his home and Yahweh's, directing us from one to the other, actually bringing them together, linking them with words. Then Yahweh will create, initiating something cutting edge, bara, upon every location and dwelling place, along the ridgeline of Zion, as well as over her mikra, by way of a cloud by day, along with smoke, and with a brilliant shining radiance and majestic light of flaming fire by night. For indeed, upon all of this manifestation of power and glory will be that chuppah, that sheltered canopy, the wedding tent, a protective covering, a shield, a bridal chamber, a pavilion. Why? Because we're entering Sukah. So I think the first thing that is important to understand is that these last 23 days, and particularly 15 of them, Teruah, the greatest show on earth, the wedding that will transpire when Yahweh returns with Dode on Kippurim, and then this great transformation of the earth, and Yahweh serving as in these roles on Zion as we re-enter Eden on Sukah. So Yahweh is going to, at this moment, act in a supernatural fashion. God said he would not return to his people until his people returned to him. Shub for shub, or no shub for you.
That's right.
Well, that is what this is all about, because those women, those 7 women, and it represents more than 7. It's a multiple, obviously, of that. I don't know if it's 7,000 or 70,000. I don't think it's 700,000, but there's a multiple of that. And they, by the way, could be the same 2 or 3 from the uppermost branches and 4 or 5 from the lower branches.
Yeah, sounds like
because the lowest and upper number and the upper number and the lowest number both total 7. Could be the exact same. But this is the role of the Adamah Parah pursuant to the adulterous woman, and in preparation for the return of the groom to his chosen bride. At this point, with all the things that are happening, particularly on Teruah and on Kippurim, God's going to be acting in a way that is supernatural. We're not going to see anything that humanity has experienced prior to this. There is no reason for, at this point, Yahweh to be coy. There's no reason for him to keep his distance. He said he would return. When his people return to him, they're going to return to him at this moment. And so,
a moment sooner, it wouldn't have been worth it.
So it's going to be a lot of recreation. Bara is the word that Yahweh used to, and he created the heavens and the earth.
Yes, it is.
This is what this is. He's going to create. He's going to initiate something cutting edge.
Cutting edge.
And upon every location and dwelling place along the ridgeline of Zion. Zion, Mount Moriah, is now the center of the world. This planet has a focus. This planet has a destination. This planet has a home. Capital Earth, Zion.
Jerusalem, yeah. These
signs posted along the way. And this is where God's going to create the most magnificent environment we have ever seen. I have seen it in my mind's eye. I'm perhaps not doing it justice, but what I have seen is I have seen for a long time the waters that are emerging from the Temple Mount, and how this water feature is going to cascade all around Moriah and Zion, and how these beautiful signs are going to illuminate this path, and how over these waters, as they dance to the Dead Sea, bringing it back to life on one side, and the Mediterranean Sea on the other, some cascading waterfalls. There's just going to be a bridge of light that goes over this water feature and takes us up to the new home for Yahweh's name, the covenant home. And I see that home actually being built out of light. I see it just being rainbow-esque in terms of colors. Just this gorgeous home, a residence for the covenant family, all illuminated with all the water and the fires that God ignited through those waters. And this is fire and water, fountains of water illuminated by fire, and this dancing fire and these cascading water features are going to be so brilliant and so joyous and so alluring. And
Leia's going to need her shades.
Yeah, and part of it too, Leia, is going to be to convey the metaphor of water and fire. Water is the ultimate solvent to clean us. Water is the source of life so that we can grow. It quenches our thirst and enables us to grow and cleans us. And fire is that which transforms us. It takes organic material and transforms organic material into energy and light. And so he is showing us the very tools that he is using to prepare us to live in his company as his sons and daughters. And it's all being shown on these signs and explained along the way. And here we are. It's just going to be the most awesome sight in the world. And the reason he used Mikra in the middle of this is that there are 7 of them. And this is the one that fulfills them all. And his son fulfilled the first 3, Pesach, Matzah, and Makodim, which enable our participation in the covenant and to be immortal and perfected and to be adopted into God's family, enriched and empowered. And then there's Shabuah, of which the returnees will be in the expensive seats overlooking all of this as it's transpiring. And then engaged as the teachers going forward during the millennial celebration of Sukah.
So I think I just figured something out. I never understood what the pillar of smoke was.
What the what?
The pillar of smoke.
Okay.
However, in order to transform water into a different state, your best bet is with fire. And I think it's the combination of both the fire and the water that is the pillar of smoke.
Yeah. Well, what he's doing too is he's going back and he's doing what all good storytellers do, and he just happens to be the best.
Oh yeah,
he led the children of Israel in a very embittered, horrible experience as the columnar cloud during the day and the pillar of light during the night, and it was cantankerous and it was miserable. Now he gets to do it when everyone is joyful, celebrating the relationship. So he gets to do what he did, but in a much better environment, and also at this time,
to a much better result.
At this time, he said, the planet isn't going to be wholly reliant upon the sun.
That's true.
And while the sun and the moon will still shine, in fact, he says the moon will be eternal, it describing their roles. And it also says that the very throne, the seat of honor of Dod, will be as brilliant as the sun. So there's a lot of things going on atmospherically at this point to recreate the conditions of Eden and this idyllic environment for us to live. And so he is also saying, I'm going to provide that the cloud by day, that again is a source of protection for all of us from any form of radiation, any form of catastrophe that might otherwise strike the planet. And that column of light is to illuminate our path, to be there in our midst, for us to be able to see the very presence of God. All of God still, as a seven-dimensional being, can't fit into our planet or our universe, but he can project himself, and that this is the way that he is projecting himself, by way of this cloud by day and along with smoke. Now, the reason for the smoke now is that it is the smoke that will be billowing to the heavens of the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah that God doesn't want anyone to forget. The sacrifice of the Adam of Parah to transform his people such that he can celebrate this moment and his son can marry his bride and we can all go into Eden as a happy family is such a big deal to God.
You're essentially playing matchmaker.
That he is going to show not only the waters that he released from the Temple Mount. He is not going to show only the fire that purged his people and incinerated all those who were coming after them, but also that fire and those waters that prepared the mortal remnant of Israel for this moment. And it is that fire underneath the carcass of the Adam of Parah with the wood that has been laid there is going to create smoke. And the smoke is important. We're going to light again in just a matter of moments our fire out there again tonight. And as we light it, in fact, I think Leia's going to go out there. The lighter is there. It should work. We've avoided the rain. So as God lights this fire underneath the Adam of Parah, there's going to be smoke, and that smoke and that ash is part of what was mixed to be consumed by the religiousness of the women, so that God can determine who of them are trustworthy and can go forward into the garden, and who can be trusted at this time. It is whose womb will be opened up to be fruitful during this time of 1,000-year celebration. And so it's going to be a beautiful, shining residence and a majestic light, a flaming fire, blazing flames by night, the warmth. And one of the things I was going to say is we lit this fire for Kippurim, and we're lighting it again. We've got 8 days to celebrate now on Sukah. The thing that I had forgotten, because I hadn't been exposed to a fire for a very, very long time, is that fire is not only is the sound of it exciting. I just love that crackle and the flames. Not only is the fire warming and enlightening, and I love that part of it. It's kind of like a dancing light. But the aroma of the smoke is just, it's so enjoyable. And so all of those things, that lovely aroma that Yahweh loves of the fire as well. So he has the same perception of fire that I've just shared with you. For indeed, upon all of this manifestation of power and glory will be a sheltering canopy. So God's going to provide, just as there was for Eden, a canopy as a shelter for all of us. He's going to also provide a chuppah for the beginning of Sukah, because there's very strict instructions that Yahweh has laid out that are presented in Devarim, when God is saying that Miriam, for claiming that she too speaks for God, representing the rabbis and their Talmud, is forever divorced and will never be part of anything to do with God or this family, because she spoke over God's chosen implement. We're also told at that time that when the groom is married, he gets a year off and from his normal duties. And so Dod's going to enjoy this first year. And so this canopy, this chuppah, is for his son's honeymoon. And Leah loves to show the pictures of a chuppah with a very handsome young Dode and a beautiful bride, because this is what the Father, our Father, Yahweh, is committed to achieving. Did you find the lighter? Oh, you got it. Already got it lit. Okay.
Did it go out?
I don't see the fire, but it is lit. And you found the lighter was on the countertop. Okay. It's very, very damp out there, so it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get this fire going, but we hope that it all works this evening. So indeed, this is the chuppah, and it is not for us to go hide out into the wilderness and to be exposed to the elements. This chuppah is for his son. It's the wedding tent where he is wed to the ultimate bride. And it's just a beautiful picture, is it not, of Sukah and what it really represents. So in the Mizmor Psalms, we also discover something that will be important for us to consider. And we will return to this story and consider what Dode had to say about this moment and what was written about him. Because, well, God's story and what his intent is for this day is so marvelous. Imagine 1,000 years where we get to go back to the conditions experienced in Eden, but with such knowledge and purpose and as God's beloved children, and knowing that all along the way we had the opportunity to contribute to his family, and that their Father is pleased with what we have achieved. There with our brothers and sisters, it's going to be an exceedingly happily ever after moment. So I want to thank you for listening. I think we have Rich coming back now. That the fire is going. We'll go ahead and just turn on that camera, and we'll let that camera run for a while, and then we'll come back and turn it off. We're not going to attempt to have a narrative out there this time, but what I spoke of the last time, I will just introduce this fire to you once again. During Sukah, Yahweh specifically asks us to do the same thing that he did on Kippurim, which is the same thing he has asked throughout the Moed Mikra, for us to approach him by coming near this feminine manifestation of the fire. And what he is saying here is that for us to benefit from the covenant and for us to become his children, we need to be transformed so that rather than our souls being harnessed to material bodies, which are so limited and that keep us here on this rock and degenerate over time and have so little power, that he wants the carrier of our souls to become light and energy. And so a fire transforms dying organic material into light and energy, such that it is more powerful, it is more eternal, it is uplifting. It is empowering very much on the lines of E equals MC squared, where energy is the equivalent of matter times the square of the speed of light. And so it's an enormous, I mean, you just think of how just the fastest thing in the universe is the speed of light. And it's the speed of light times the speed of light is how much more empowered we become when we are transformed from a material being with a body to being enveloped in light and energy. It's why I'm just so frustrated when people get fixated on the look and appearance and modesty of a body, or these terrible religions with bodily resurrection. It's just such a stupid concept. To be like God, to get off this planet, to live forever, to explore the universe, to enter Shamayim, to be with our God, we need to have these bodies transformed so that our soul resides within energy and light. And that's what that fire represents. And of course, it's sitting by a pool of sparkling water, because water is the ultimate solvent that prepares us and cleans us to be in God's presence, and it is the source of life. So we're going to go out. We're going to enjoy that fire this evening, just as we did the previous evening. This is now, in fact, at this very moment, we are now enjoying Sukah. This is the first of 8 days. And we thank you very much for being with us. Asher, our beloved Labrador, is already announcing that it is Sukah. So we're just going to transition. We will enjoy that warmth and the glow of that fire. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with you to celebrate more about Sukah tomorrow morning. Good night.
Shalom, my family. Have a beautiful Sukah. Good night.